Welcome to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism. It is the power of liberation, first the Republican and then the Socialists. Mary Brockman's and our bouncer zone, the Exceptional Conservative Show room, chat room. Look under services at the Exceptional Conservative Show. You will find her. Listen, she is my bouncer. If you diss her, you diss me, you will be dismissed. Also, I want to give greetings to my lovely wife, Miss Beaches. You better know her as Miss Biggs. Yes, we're coming to you live from Washington, D.C. This is a very big night because I want to talk with you unabashedly about the police state that's been created in America by those on the left. Okay, we're going to turn it down a lot. There we go. Alright, is that better? We all okay? Okay, good. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Tuesday night show, the Exceptional Conservative Show from Washington, D.C. I got a note today from someone, and you all know that we have received a lot of attention internationally, nationally, locally, regionally, all over, regarding our daughter Janis Milton and how cowards murdered her on the streets of Washington, D.C., one using her as a human shield, even. Well, that notoriety and us being advocates for the voiceless, those who happen to be, in a sense, unresolved homicides and missing persons. Well, we were standing up for them. That notoriety has garnered some attention, some that can't be found in other places. And this contributes to the creation of the police state in urban America, and especially around the country. Wherever there is a liberal influence, there's the introduction of a police state. And so I want to talk with you all about that tonight. I wanted to talk about the individual who sent me a note as it relates to an essay that I wrote recently. And I don't want to give attention to the person exactly or the GoFundMe account until I want to solidify all of that. I want to verify all that information before I bring someone on the air. But someone called out to us via my show, and you know I'm a very open person. I don't mind shining light on individuals who need the shine. Not at all. In fact, I encourage other people to do the very same thing. But I received this note, and I'm just going to read the basics around it. I'm not going to give specifics, but one of the persons that I mentioned in the essay that I wrote recently is being referred to here. And the person who wrote me says, my cousin was so-and-so. She was a lady shot 6 times in the back as she was bringing her groceries in the house. The family is trying to get help for her funeral. I have contacted all the new channels for help to publish the GoFundMe. No one has responded. Please help us to get the word out so we can funeralize her. She was another innocent D.C. victim shot in the back 6 times by cowards. Thank you and God bless. Now, I don't know this person from a shovel in your backyard. I don't know. So I want to verify that before I start promoting people's pages. I want to make certain of all of the material information and evidences before I go forward with anybody. But I just want to relay the information to the family. I am very open to having you come on the air and talk about the case, and to bring spotlight, because some people well know that, you know, if we seem to shine a light on something, attention is drawn to it, and I want to take advantage of that while God is giving me the day to do that. So I open my radio broadcast today or tomorrow for you to do that. Get back with me. I want to follow up with you, make certain things are on the up and up, and make certain that every possible available solution is given you to bury your child, bury your mother, your daughter, your aunt, your sister, your cousin. My wife and I understand what you're going through. It is not an exact understanding, as only you are traveling the road that you travel, but certainly we've been on the road with you. We know, and we would like to help. So get back with us as soon as you can, and when I come back, I want to read the essay to everyone, because apparently it has garnered some attention, especially amongst those who are upset that tonight I'm doing this show called The Democrat Police State, and why progressives believe women are unequal under the Second Amendment. That's right, they do. So we will be back in just a moment. You know what we do on this particular program. We're a few minutes late, and the reason is that I was explaining a matter at hand. But you know that when we open the show, we give a pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. We hope that you will join us. Let's see if Spanish with Senora Cabrera is available.
Buenas tardes, niños. This is Spanish with Senora Cabrera. Today we will learn how to say the Pledge of Allegiance in Spanish. In English, we say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And in Spanish we say, juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa, una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Muy bien. Practice your pledge of allegiance, and the more you practice, the faster you will learn. I'll see you later.
And we will see you now. Thank you, Senora Cabrera. It's been a while. Now we'll try to go back to you as often as we possibly can. Ladies and gentlemen, the talk of the day has been about that silverback gorilla. Now, before I even get into the talk regarding, I don't understand, how can you all be in such love with a silverback gorilla that was about to kill a child? Sickening people, sick. I want to go to a zookeeper who sent a note to our good friend Dan the Man Butcher of High Plains Pundit Media. You can hear us on High Plains Pundit Media, Sackheads Radio, which is SHR Media, and as well Internet Conservative Radio Network. Now, any choice, it's your choice. But the letter from Amanda O'Donoghue should awaken many to the actual context of the little man being in the cage with the 420, I've heard some say 430, but a huge 6 foot, 430 pound silverback gorilla. And some of you only saw the pictures of at the Cincinnati Zoo of the silverback male gorilla. This is in prime age. This is the Incredible Hulk of the animal world. It really is. You saw pictures of him pulling the pants up of the boy, and you thought that was really neat because, you know, black kids, right, they be wearing their pants down below their thighs, so the gorilla picked his... Yeah, see, that's what some of y'all were thinking. He had previously, before that point, dragged the boy through the moat. He actually sat on the boy in the moat. He could have drowned the boy. When the boy got excited, he grabs the boy by the hand and he drags him through the moat. That's where you see him lifting the boy up by his pants. I want to explain to you, ladies and gentlemen, this was not a TV movie. And as much antithesis as you have towards the mother, there's nothing you can do in that moment about the mother. That's a latter thing. And there's nothing you can do about the Cincinnati Zoo for the gate being only 3 feet. You know, that's a latter thing. The only thing you can deal with right now is the life and death issue of that boy being in that moat with that 6 foot, 420 pound primal beast of a mammal. Amanda O'Donoghue, who was once a zookeeper, wrote this letter to Dan Butcher. I really thank her for her expertise and her thinking, as well as we should think accordingly. She says, I'm going to try to clear up a few things that have been weighing on me about Harambe in the Cincy Zoo since I read the news this afternoon. I have worked with gorillas as a zookeeper while in my 20s, before children, and they are my favorite animal out of dozens that I have ever worked closely with. I am going to go ahead and list a few facts, thoughts, and opinions for those of you that aren't familiar with the species itself or how a zoo operates in emergency situations. Now, gorillas are considered gentle giants, at least when compared with their more aggressive cousins, the chimpanzees. Anybody remember the chimpanzee who pulled the face off the woman in Connecticut? Anybody remember that? That was a chimpanzee. That was a chimp. Imagine the power of a silverback gorilla. Just say, okay, let me digress to what she's right. But a 400-pound male in his prime is as strong as roughly 10 adult humans. What can you bench press? Okay, now multiply that number by 10. So personally, I can bench press about 150. You know, my own. I'm working. Imagine one beast that's able to lift 1,500 pounds as if it's nothing. Okay, now multiply that by 10. An adult male silverback gorilla has one job: to protect his group. He must protect the host. Well, that's what he is. He is the protector of the house. There's no question about him being male or female. There's no question about whether, you know, that's his role. I make more bananas than he. No, that's not. His job is to protect the group. He does this by bluffing or intimidating anything that he feels threatened by. So I want you all to understand something. That 4-year-old boy who fell into that moat, was not being rescued by the gorilla. The gorilla saw him as a trespasser. And actually, we should maybe have had Harambe in charge of our immigration program here in this country. He saw that person as a trespasser and someone who was going to be a threat to the female gorillas that were behind him. So what was he going to do? He was going to do what his job is, protect the gorillas. She goes on to say that gorillas are considered a class 1 mammal, the most dangerous class of mammals in the animal kingdom. Again, merely due to their size and strength. They are grouped in with other apes, tigers, lions, and bears. Oh my. While working in a AZA accredited zoo with apes, keepers do not work in contact with them. Now you heard some people on CNN and all the others say, well, they go in there and they feed them. No, they do not. No, they do not. The worst joke somebody could play on you at the zoo while you're feeding the gorillas is to lock the door. Just saying. There's no recovery from that. There's a lot of years of therapy that will have to go behind that. So she goes on to say keepers do not work in contact with them, meaning they do not go in with these animals. There is always a welded mesh barrier between the animal and the humans. Because animals don't know they're animals. Humans know that they're animals and that they themselves are human. Just saying. In more recent decades, zoos have begun to redesign enclosures, removing all obvious caging and attempting to create a seamless view of the animals for the visitor to enjoy watching animals in a more natural-looking habitat. This is great until little children begin falling into exhibits, which, of course, can happen to anyone, especially in a crowded zoo-like setting. So before you start beating up on the woman, you might want to take a look at how the habitat was created. Now, I have watched this video over again, she says, and this is a former zookeeper, Amanda O'Donoghue. I have watched this video over again, and with the silverbacks posturing and tight lips, and honey, I don't want to hear any jokes about me after the show. The silverbacks posturing and tight lips is pretty much the stuff of any keeper's nightmares, and I have had many while working with them. This job is not for the complacent. Gorillas are kind, curious, and sometimes silly, but they are also very large, very strong animals. I always brought my OCD to work with me, checking and rechecking locks to make sure my animals and I remain separated before entering to clean. I keep hearing that the gorilla was trying to protect the boy. I do not find this to be true. Harambe reaches for the boy's hands and arms, but only. Can you hear that word, only? Only to position the child better for his own displaying purposes. He was about to use the boy as a rag doll. Did you get that? Liberal America, did you get that? Males do very elaborate displays when highly agitated, slamming and dragging things about. The grace of God was that little boy was being dragged in a water boat. Can you imagine if it was the ground? Oh my God, that kid would be dead. Typically, they would drag large branches, barrels, and heavy-weighted balls around to make as much noise as possible. Not in an effort to hurt anyone or anything usually, but just to intimidate. It was clear to me that he was reacting to the screams coming from the gathering crowd. Harambe was most likely not going to separate himself from that child without seriously hurting him again. For my Black Lives Matter people who don't follow things along well at home, Harambe was most likely not going to separate himself from that child. He was going to be glued to the child, and either he was going to die or the child was. He was not looking at a child, he was looking at a threat. Again, due to mere size and strength, not malicious intent. Why didn't they use treats? Well, they attempted to call them off exhibit, which animals hate. The females in the group came in, but Harambe did not. What better treat for a captive animal than a real live kid? He had found his toy. He didn't want any Tootsie Rolls, okay? Didn't want the Tootsie Rolls. Didn't want carrots. He wanted the little boy. Kind of like a pedophile at the Target. I digress. They didn't use tranquilizers for a few reasons. I want y'all to pay attention to what Miss O'Donoghue was saying to you, a former zookeeper. They didn't use tranquilizers for a few reasons. A, Harambe would have taken too long. Do you know how big that thing is? Oh my God. It's like Lou Ferrigno, Arnold Schwarzenegger in their prime, with The Rock standing on top. Okay? All of them still would be too small. That thing was huge! Can you imagine the dreams that little boy's going to have for the rest of his life? That thing was huge! But if you ever wanted to join a gang, he would be the most credible one. I mean, he survived a gorilla. What y'all going to do? What y'all going to do? Okay. A, Harambe would have taken too long to become immobilized and could have really injured the child in the process, as the drugs used may not work quickly enough depending on the stress of the situation and the dose. B, Harambe would have drowned in the moat if immobilized in the water, and possibly fallen on the boy, trapping him and drowning him as well. Many zoos have a protocol to call on expertly trained dark team in the event of an animal escape or in the event that a human is trapped with a dangerous animal. They will evaluate the scene as quickly and as safely as possible. They will make the most informed decision as how they will handle the animal. O'Donoghue goes on to say, former zookeeper, I can't point fingers at anyone in this situation, but we need to really evaluate the safety of the animal enclosures from the visitor side. Not impending that view is a tough one, but there should be no way that someone can find themselves inside of an animal's exhibit. I know one thing for sure. Those keepers lost a beautiful, and I mean gorgeous, silverback and friend. I feel they lost with them this week. As educators and conservators of endangered species, all we can do is shine a light on the beauty and majesty of these animals and hopes to spark a love and a need to keep them from vanishing from our planet. Child killers, they are not. It's unfortunate for the conservation of the species and the loss of revenue a beautiful zoo such as Cincy will lose. Tragedy all around. And she even has a picture of herself working with a 400-pound silverback from 2009. So ladies and gentlemen, next to her, she looks like a leprechaun. I'm just saying, baby. Now imagine a 4-year-old with this huge beast. It was the boy that killed the beast. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back with more of the best in urban conservative talk right after these messages from our PSA loving folk. Well, actually, it's Freedom Fest.
Well, welcome to Freedom Fest 2015. I think this is the best Freedom Fest we've ever put together. Freedom Fest is truly international. There's people from all over the world that come to Freedom Fest, not just to talk, but also to participate in dialogue, participate in the panels, to participate in the audience.
So hold your breath, lock your seatbelts. I hope you're at your Wheaties today.
We are inflamed by government mandates. What light bulb you can buy, what car you can drive, how you heat and cool your home. to what health insurance?
Europe actually has allowed itself to be held hostage of this entire Greek situation.
They have the courage to debate. We have debates on foreign policy, on taxes, on what's going on in the world, on how to invest and how to run your own life. Here's an example of restaurants. Don't open a restaurant because it's so competitive you're never making money. Really? I mean, in Chipotle lately, how many believe that Peter Thiel won the argument competition is overrated in America? And how many favor John Mackey's response?
So here's the moment many of you have been waiting for, myself included, and I think it's the reason why this room is completely packed, all the way to the back as far as I can see. I think I worked about 8 years to put together this debate. I have to say, it's really kind of depressing to see people holding up the Reagan story, which is so obviously different if you pay any attention to the story, as that's the best argument? Really? That's the best argument? And the middle class and the poor, the people you say you care most about, are the people who've been hurt the most by these policies because they've had no income growth at all.
Thank you. They already left 2 waters for me. I'll probably only need 1. So I appreciate it.
In America today, higher education is controlled by a cartel. And they say, oh, let's take out a loan and pay for this. And no one bothers to tell them that the market for Greek philosophers has been tight for 2,000 years.
So in terms of its 2 major policy objectives, stable prices in a stable economy, the Fed has clearly failed. And if the Federal Reserve actually did the right thing, the market would crash.
Every country in the world with a lower corporate tax rate than us. What's it cost?
This, in my view, is the premier libertarian event in the country.
You probably meet the largest cross-section of philosophically based groups of any conference anywhere in the world.
Some of the smartest people in our country come together here to discuss the ideas, the challenges, this is engaged group of individuals.
This is all about the mind. It's not about how fancy you are.
Feisty discussions, interesting people to meet.
I love it. This is my first time doing anything like this.
The only place you get this many people who agree with me. Nobody, I live in New York. Nobody agrees with me.
You know, war is not the health of the state. War is the death of liberty and freedom. That's a mentality that is particularly strong in the Republican Party, but it's also strong in the Democratic Party.
I want government to be this small. I want individuals to be this big.
We are people when we are at our greatest that we lead by example. We don't jam it down anybody's throat. We don't force them to live our way. We don't nation build. It's very interesting. There's a lot of variety of stuff.
Hear ye, hear ye. Freedom Fest Court is now in session.
We are gathered here in this great sovereign state of Nevada to decide the fate of the country's central bank, the Federal Reserve.
Please place your hand on this edition of Forbes 400 Richest.
The level of many markets, and that is simply mathematically impossible without the Fed creating money to make it happen.
The Fed is guilty, 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 guilty. Court is now adjourned. God bless America, and may you always ride on the eagle of freedom. Hallelujah, and good night.
I'm Joanne Scousen. I'm the founding director of the Anthem Film Festival. We are in our 5th year. We started in a little room on the 26th floor at Bally's, and now we've grown to huge numbers. In fact, we have a fabulous lineup of short
Officers are aware about here, but you and citizens may not have access to that footage.
Live from Las Vegas.
We recognize that Freedom Fest is a big tent.
Well, I happen to like Rand Paul. I really do. By the way, in some cases, there is a new hospital for $1.5 billion. You could build 7 hospitals, 10 hospitals, so that if you knew what you were doing.
We had almost 300 speakers.
Without a doubt, our most successful Freedom Fest ever.
And I just adore the experience. It's like a saturation of the senses, a saturation of the mind. I've learned so much. I come home with way too many books. I adore Freedom Fest. I'm definitely going to be back again next year.
I hope that you're going this year. I really do. Join all of us this year at Freedom Fest. 855-850-3733. Freedom Fest, the world's largest gathering of free minds. Oh, it's going to be huge this year. I don't know if the presumptive, I hate that term. Oh my God, can y'all come up with another synonym, maybe? You know, the eventual nominee for the GOP presidency of the United States of America, you know, that something like that. Donald Trump may stop past, but we definitely know that George Foreman will be there, Andrew Napolitano will be there, Steve Forbes, and so many others. Larry Elder, Larry, what's his name? I am trying to get his name. You know, it's going to be very easy for me. This arena normally works for the professor on these particular gambits. Freedom Fest Las Vegas, the speakers as they are crafting them right now. Senator Rand Paul will be there. Judge Andrew Napolitano will be there. Brett Moselle, Ed Asner, Lawrence Elder. It's Larry Elder. Why does he use Lawrence? Lawrence Elder, the Larry Elder Show. He will be there. John Mackey will be there. Terry Brock. John Allison. You're going to have Rob Arnott. Also Lawson Bader. Bob Barr will be there. Congressman Earl Blumner from Oregon Sur Congressional District will be there. I'm telling you, Michael Buja from Greenlee School of Journalism and Communications at Iowa State will be there. I'm telling you, it's just a number of great speakers and just thinkers, and it's very long. John Fleming's going to be there. This is a very long list. They had over 300 speakers last year. We'll probably have needing more of that this year. That list is really being put together as we speak, and I'm hoping to hear some good news from a friend of mine as he is making his plan. So there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to do this because a lot of people, I spoke with a reporter today, and first I want to welcome everyone back to the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. We're not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, but it's a power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the Socialist. I want to welcome you back. Because I spoke with a reporter today, and that reporter was asking me questions about gun violence. And whenever anyone in urban America wants to talk with you about the unresolved homicides, the missing persons, the exploited children, anytime anybody wants to talk with you about that, they always frame it in the wrapping paper of gun violence. Because really the alternative for them is to remove all guns, because the gun is the problem, not the individual whose heart is so black and dark that they would like to take the life of another. No, that's not it. No, that's too easy. It's got to be the gun, Ken. And so the question was brought to me, what do you do? What are the solutions for dealing with the gun problem that we have in inner cities? I mean, should we focus on more jobs? Should we focus on public education? And so those are always the liberal diatribe. That's always the solution box. Whenever you reach in the solution box regarding violence and murder in inner cities, it's always this idea that if we throw you a pittance, you people will get your acts together, and then you wouldn't kill each other as much. Because the majority of all deaths in the urban community don't come from white police officers who just kicking it around one day and say, hey, I want to kill a black kid. No, that's, yeah. The majority of the murders in black America happen at the hands of another black person. And one of these PBS people, when they're interviewing you, none of these liberals want you to come back and talk about that. They want you to talk about how we need to have more jobs training program. If we just gave that criminal a job, he wouldn't rape a girl. He wouldn't go in the bathroom behind a woman and take pictures of her. He wouldn't go and kill somebody. There are lots of employed people that murder. So it's not a jobs program that's going to do it. Alright? And don't tell me after 50 years of being unemployed in urban America that somehow a jobs program will change the outcome. Just not gonna do it. It's not gonna do it because the theory here is that you would find people to elect that will help you create jobs. Instead, you find people to elect that steal tax dollars from people to create these jobs programs where the only person who actually makes any money is the person who's running the program. The individuals that go through it don't get jobs. But that was your government scheme. That was your government idea. So when you're talking with me, I'm supposed to fall in line with your liberal thesis. And I responded back, we've spent billions of dollars on education reform. Billions. I didn't say millions. Billions of dollars in education reform. And what have we gotten? We still have the same level of unemployment. We still have the same level of dropouts. And our crime rate is rising. So it's not spending more money on public schools. It's not spending more money on jobs programs. In the District of Columbia, there are at least 33 jobs programs that overlap one another through the Department of Employment Services, through Health and Human Services, through health and empowerment and this and that and the other. So it's not job training. That's not it. And how much job training do you need to fold towels and work in a service industry? And forgive me, I know some people in the service industry go, well, you don't know what I do all day. But I've seen you. I've been in the hotels. Some of you actually do your job well, and that's wonderful. And others, I've gone to hotels and found people's underwear underneath the couch. So much for your training. So I'm just going to say this in response, and this is my response to her. It's not jobs training. It's not public education. It's none of that stuff. Until the heart of people change, you will continue to have the murders that you do have. Now, what I just said to her was the same thing God said to Cain. God said to Cain, your heart ain't right, but you still can correct it before you do something deadly. Cain didn't listen and he killed Abel. The heart's got to change. And so she says, well, what do we do then? Well, number one, make certain that every American is able to defend themselves. Oh, look, you could have heard her. Oh my God. You just want people going in the street killing each other. How is it that people are going in the streets and killing each other now with illegal guns, but the people who are being killed are the innocent bystanders who have no gun? No, I don't want people killing each other in the streets. I want people to be able to defend themselves. And not only on top of that, I want you to know for a certain, when you get on that subway train, you don't know who packed it. So you better come correct. If you don't, all your incorrects will show up in red ink. That's what I'm saying to you. That's all I'm saying to you. And so, she was, oh my God, she was flustered. A black man, after all these years of being oppressed by the white man, or at least Sean, the black man comes up and says he needs to be armed. I said nothing different than what Malcolm X said. But if Malcolm X says it, oh Lordy, it's the greatest thing since Swiss cheese. Oh, Malcolm X, power to the people. I say it because I'm a conservative. It's it's like, oh, he's going out there to kill people. No! I don't want my wife to die. I don't want my daughters to die. But one of them did. How did that happen? She wasn't packing one night. She didn't have an even playing field. And I love liberals. Liberals always talk about having an even playing field. Making certain that we always have the right outcome. Here's the right outcome for that woman who was raped in the bathroom in Chevy Chase tonight. Don't you think she would like the even playing field? If she had a taser in the Soviet Republic of Maryland where you can't have a gun, oh lordy, protecting yourself, you got to give it all up to the criminal. Not only your money and your property, but you got to give up your life. Give it all to the criminal. That's the Jesus way. So in the People's Republic of Maryland, where you can't have a gun, you can't have a taser, you can't really protect yourself, which is no different than Washington, D.C. In fact, you better carry a brick in your purse. Really? Now some people say, well, there you go, Ken. That's an instrument to kill people. No, it's an instrument to save your life. I'm so sick of these liberals talking about we need to have rape kits at every hospital because the woman needs to be able to know. She knows she's experienced it. She doesn't want to experience it because of you idiots out there telling her it's wrong for her to protect her life. She's going around with an empty purse, and guess what? Joe Mafallo over here knows that. I'm just gonna go in the bathroom after her. You know what I'm saying? She can't run. She can't hide. So my focus is on women. Here's a woman.
I'm a good person. I never bother anybody. But I can't afford a nice house in the same neighborhood. I live in one high-rise. Young minors and young girls walk down my homes every day. My neighbors and I were scared and called the police, but they can't keep us safe. Some of us are too afraid to even leave our apartments. But the housing authority told me if I bought a gun to protect myself, they throw me to the streets. If I'm not free because of my address today, what makes you think you'll be free tomorrow? I watched Martin Luther King song. I know my rights. Now I have my gun. I am the National Rifle Association of America, and I am freedom's safest place.
So what you gonna do? Grandma's walking down the hallway, people playing craps in the hallway, someone ODing in the hallway. She's got to walk around all that just to get to the end of her public Section 8 building. Brother man knows that it's payday in the neighborhood. It's the first of the month. He pops out the corner, holds a gun to her head and says, Grandma, you're going to have to give it up or you're going to see Jesus today. Wouldn't it be nice if liberals would truly like to see an even playing field for Grandma? Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh, and just like millions of other women, that's why I own guns. We're responsible, we're law-abiding, and we're everything that makes America strong. Every day we're willing to use a firearm to defend our families. But the media will never tell their stories. If a man puts a gun to the face of a woman named a thug and makes him run for his life, the story gets buried. And if she's unarmed and murdered, the cameras will get the scene before the police. It's time for men like me to speak out. We are the majority. We demand the freedom to defend our families. And we challenge the media to tell the truth about our rights. I'm the National Rifle Association of America, and I'm freedom's safest place.
There you go. But what do you hear? What do you hear, America, when a conservative like me turns to the press and says, you know what? If we can't police our way out of this, maybe we can self-defend our way out of it. Maybe I don't have to, when I travel away from home, worry if someone didn't get the drop on my wife before she got in the house. Worry that someone didn't get the drop on my daughter because they got the drop on my other daughter. I don't want the same thing happening to her, but maybe that's because I'm a bad man. Maybe it's because I'm evil. And I don't think women should be found to be unequal in the area of the Second Amendment. Only liberals believe women are dumb enough that they can't protect themselves. Only liberals can literally get away with this explanation in the Democrat police state. Don't worry, the police will be here shortly. You know, it's great when you have a female police chief and a female mayor, but you thought that there might be a certain sense of sensitivity towards women, especially with expanding the right of the Second Amendment in urban America so that these women would be able to protect themselves. What do you do with a woman who's been beat on since she was 16? She's now 27. She's got 4 kids. She's got one of those jobs that may be replaced with a robot. Barely making the grind. Her old man pops in and out, normally at the beginning of the month when there is food stamp money and a little bit something on the EBT card. And after a few drunken nights of passionate sex, this individual pops up and says, you know what, I'm leaving. And she decides she's not going to have that. You're staying with me. And he holds off and he cold cocks her, slamming her into the wall. And the kids are running, trying to stop him from beating on mama again. And they get slapped around. And she's trying to keep them away from him and begin slapping at them. Can you see all of this going on? And then he pulls out a gun that's not registered. And if you ask the police department, the chief of police, if all of these murders in District of Columbia were done at the hands of someone who legally carried a firearm, she would have to tell you the truth. No. All of those were done by illegal firearms owners. He pulls out, he slaps her across the head with the butt of the gun, points it towards her head and says, the next one will be in your head. And all she can do is grab her 3-year-old boy and hold him underneath her until he gets sober enough in the moment to walk out and don't come back for another 2 or 3 weeks. And this has been her religious experience in this relationship for a decade. And every time she goes to a community meeting, she's told, wait a minute, don't worry, the police will be here shortly. How many black eyes does she have to take waiting for the police to come to be her savior? How many times does she have to show up in the ER with broken bones with the explanation of I fell? How many times does she have to wonder what that noise is in her daughter, her 12-year-old daughter's bedroom, and whether it's him? Ladies and gentlemen, there's a man in New York who's coming under heavy fire because he decided that he was going to protect his wife. The New York husband actually saw a gentleman, and this is reported in the New York Post, and I'll put that in the chat roll tonight. The husband allegedly kills a man attempting to rape his wife. A man was attempting to rape a woman in the Bronx on Monday and was beaten to death by her husband, who came to her rescue. The suspect broke into the 50-year-old woman's Marisania home at about 10 p.m. and began pulling her clothes off her when she screamed for help. The victim's 57-year-old husband was outside the home, heard the screams, rushed inside, and confronted the alleged intruder. The suspect was taken to Lincoln Hospital, where he later died. No charges had been filed as of early Tuesday. The question is, why should there be? The question is, why should there be? Only Democrats would explain to you that he didn't have to kill him. Mary says women should carry a gun because a policeman is too heavy. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I went to a debate earlier this evening by a lot of racist, bigoted folk that was held by React Radio here in D.C. It is very easy if you're running for office in D.C. Just always say black people are the best, white people are evil, and we're going to do something about that. And you'll win. You'll win. That's just how bigoted people are. At the event, I heard statement after statement about how life is so unfair. Can I tell you what really is unfair? What is unfair is that I have to, when I travel sometimes, leave my wife behind. And I have to worry that I will not be there to do what that man in New York did for his wife. I just want y'all to know with all the sincere godliness within me, you touch my wife, I will be spending time in jail. It is just that simple. We'll be back, and I'll be talking a little bit more about the Democrat state, the bigotry of Democrats when it comes to gun control, and why you should never vote Democrat again if you love your wife and kids. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Hillary Clinton stumping in the key early voting state of New Hampshire, the former Secretary of State talking gun control during the on-air town hall meeting. Our chief White House correspondent, Ed Henry's live there where that town hall was in Manchester, New Hampshire. Hi, Ed.
Jenna, good to see you. It's interesting because Hillary Clinton still trails Democratic Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders here in the critical state of New Hampshire. So she's trying to find her populist voice, push back on Sanders, and sort of carve out her own niche here. She's doing it, as you say, it appears, on the issue of gun control, jumping on that tragedy in Oregon last week with a plan now to go beyond what President Obama has done, she says, on executive actions on gun control, including universal background checks, trying to close the so-called gun show loophole, also talking about giving victims of gun violence a chance to sue gun manufacturers, something that has been very controversial in recent years. And at this town hall meeting behind me a short time ago, Hillary Clinton got emotional, was choking back tears as she introduced a mom who had lost a 6-year-old at Sandy Hook. Listen.
How much longer will we just shrug? Oh my gosh, something else terrible happened, whether it's in your neighborhood, Aaron, or at a community college, or the murder of children in their classrooms.
You can see her getting emotional there. Democrats feeling like perhaps she's finding her voice. Republicans feeling like Hillary Clinton is politicizing some of these tragedies. She went on in this town hall to beat up on both Republicans, Donald Trump and Jeb Bush, because of recent comments on guns. Yesterday, Donald Trump, the Republican frontrunner, was saying, look, this is not about guns, it's about mental illness, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back to the Exceptional Conservative Show, the second half of it. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism. That is the power of liberation. First to the Republican and then the Socialist. We're focusing today on gun control. But on Tuesday nights, we have the great ability to talk with none other than Janis Hall in the J Hall World Report.
Hello.
Hello, Janis. It's a great privilege to have you on the air with us tonight.
I am happy to be here.
Listen, I understand that you had a great barbecue.
Well, it was not a barbecue, but it was pretty good. I just had to go kind of smaller.
Oh, yeah. No problem. But what was on the menu?
Let's see, we did some sausages and some salmon. Oh, and corn.
Oh! I smelled your barbecue all the way across the river. It was delicious. I'm
sure it is. We went on Sunday, and then we finished just in time because the rain started.
Oh, that was a massive rainstorm.
Yes. It turned into a massive rainstorm.
Well, the great thing is, because you're at home and did the barbecue, you could go inside. I feel sorry for the people that were at the park.
That's true, yes. We were at home, so we just, took food inside and ate there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Simply awesome. Listen, Janis, as always, I'm so glad that you're here on Tuesday nights because you really do a great job of breaking down the complexities of world events down to kitchen table level for people to understand. Apparently, one of our great concerns, or actually one of our quiet concerns here in the Western Hemisphere, is this country called Venezuela. Venezuela, it has a great deal of wealth, right? I mean, oil and all kinds of other resources.
Yeah. Well, technically speaking, Venezuela has huge stores of oil. However, due to bad socialist policies, and you can just bad and socialist, they're kind of the same thing.
Synonyms and Webster's.
So, because of these policies, the economy is just doing terrible. And it's starting to get to the point where they basically don't actually even have anything right now. They're not even they don't have, food staples. They don't have toiletries, and so far, 2 airlines have already decided that they are going to stop servicing Venezuela.
Wow. Wow. That's a huge hit to the economy if you don't have tourists in your country.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I think what we're going to see, and people are very upset, we've seen that they tried to recall the president/dictator and that has not worked. I think that I think we will eventually see some change. It just might take another little while of people, not being able to eat before something actually happens.
Wow. I mean,
I think it's getting close.
We're watching this stuff, and it's not being. You have to watch this stuff via the BBC and others, because people inside this country don't have access to what's going on, because it's not important. You know, what Hillary Clinton's wearing this week is important. But these people are attacking shipments as they're coming into the city. I mean, trucks can't make it into cities because they're being attacked on the outside.
Yes. Because, I mean, basically the way it stands, there really just isn't anything in the country. And whether it's in the city or outside the city, people are desperate.
Wow. Wow. So this is the type of Bernie Sanders financial policy that people at the local universities want to elect to bring into office, right?
Yes. One top.
Oh, gee. You gotta have your own toilet paper. Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Just start buying stuff, just start buying it better on the black market, it's fine.
$50 for a bar of butter. There you go. It's good too. Only hit the ground twice. Speaking of a country who's gone through financial problems, Greece.
Yeah, Greece.
They built a wall around Greece. We love you, Hungary. We love you. They built a wall around Greece, so the immigrants can't come through anymore. They're stuck in Greece. So how's that working?
Well, it's not working so hot. So, Greece, in addition to having thousands of likely illegal refugees, or fake asylum seekers, who's trying to support, it also is now saying that it will not be able to fulfill the demand set to it by its creditors, which I don't think anyone is particularly surprised about. I think that every time Greece gets a deal, right, it's great. They get a deal, they get money, and then a little later on, we find out that, oh, by the way, Greece can't actually live up to its end of the bargain. So, then we have several days, weeks of stress, what's going to happen, and another emergency deal is put through.
Wow. Now, we talked about this, I have been talking about it for a number of years now, and you're absolutely right. This is kind of like Greece is becoming North Korea. We beg for bread, we get a deal, and then we break the deal. But remember, it was Chancellor Unequal. Chancellor Unequal. The German Chancellor, who told Britain that they did not have to worry about Greece. They're giving money to Greece, along with Germany, would supplant it and support it, and then they would break free. Angela Merkel, is this one of those bullets that she's going to have to bite with the upcoming election over whether Britain stays in the Euro?
certainly not going to help. I think that, I mean, until something new is done, the Greece situation is just going to be a perpetual problem.
Wow.
Essentially, Europe and Greece continue to do the same thing over and over again, and of course nothing changes because they're doing something over and over again.
But why would Europe just sell Greece to Russia? Since Putin wants to expand, take over Greece. There you go. Wonderful.
There you go. There you go.
Nice shoreline there. I mean, it's got history. Speaking of Russia.
Speaking of Russia, yeah.
Vladimir Putin isn't a happy camper this week. Why is he not a happy camper?
No, he's not. So, he's not particularly happy with Poland, and generally the U.S., because Poland is essentially going to be part of the missile defense shield, but essentially we don't see it, which, yes, probably is to protect it from the Middle East, but it's also probably to protect it from Russia. Not that I think people have a great fear of missiles coming in from Russia, but it's still there, and I think that there's been Russia's very sensitive on the topic of nuclear weapons and missile defense, and anything being equal. And when Russia feels as if the status quo is changing, and then essentially the West is getting, stronger in this realm, then they feel very threatened. And it's also not helping that the Poles have made a little bit of extra effort with their military because of Russia wanting to go into Ukraine. Going into Ukraine, I guess I should say. But yeah. The Poles are just sort of being antagonistic right now. Not unjustifiably, but yeah, Russia's not happy about it.
Is this Poland's way of putting their thumbs to their ear and going na 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 na? I mean, you get the best of both worlds. You can taunt Russia and still be protected by the U.S. It's just awesome.
It is.
We're talking with Janis Hall, the J. Hall World Report. You know what we do. 10 p.m. on Tuesday nights. We talk about world issues and bring them down to kitchen table diplomacy level. North Korea. The next bomb we hear might actually be coming from North Korea. They are working feverishly on creating a weapon that can actually travel the birth of the Pacific Ocean and reach Alaska. Tell us about that.
They recently did a mental test, and it failed, which everyone should generally be happy about. However, one of these days, that mental test is not going to fail.
Yes.
And, I mean, this is just a logical progression. They have developed nuclear weapons. They've tested several times with those, and now they're working on a missile program. And, it may take time, but they will get there. And when they're able to essentially, put the two together, that could be potentially a really big problem.
Wow.
For everybody.
Exactly. And a lot of people are thinking, well, it's just North Korea. North Korea is a JV team when it comes to nuclear. I mean, we should be worried about Iran. We should be worried about Russia. Why is North Korea a formidable concern for America?
Mostly because they just seem to be kind of crazy. I honestly don't think that anything is going to happen with North Korea preemptively. However, it's never good to have a country like North Korea that is so oppressive and so completely outside international norms. With nuclear weapons.
Now, we can't get much help from China on this one. They seem to be focused on the South Pacific Ocean, or the South Asian Sea. And so, who can we put against North Korea then? If China's not going to quell them, who should we count on there?
Well, can't really count on anybody. We ourselves are not doing it, and South Korea really depends on us.
Yeah.
Japan obviously is legitimately concerned about North Korea as well, and Japan, for the most part, relies on the U.S. for its security, though they're making inroads in that realm. And it's partially probably because of North Korea, but mostly I think because of China. So, no, I don't think we're going to be getting any help in this situation.
Wow. Good luck, people. Good luck, U.S. And for the good people of Alaska, you might ask the president to extend the missile defense shield to Alaska. But before you go, because this is a very serious issue, although we laugh about a lot of things, but apparently the Iraq forces are trying to dislodge ISIS for Fallujah again.
So, the Iraqi forces are making a push to dislodge ISIS from Syria, which is basically the second biggest population that ISIS has taken in Iraq, mostly being the first. And ISIS has had it for a while now, years.
Yep.
And Iraq has not been able to get them to leave. And so, the last several days, they made a military push to do so. However, they seem to have been halted, and really have not been able to, as of yet, get ISIS to leave. And, of course, with this comes the fact that you have, citizens in Fallujah who probably can't leave because they're essentially being used as hostages.
Wow.
And it's a bad situation all around.
Wow.
Honestly, I think eventually, Iraq might be able to retake the city, but it's certainly not looking good at the present.
And you're one of the first people to report it accurately as to what the problem is for Fallujah, is that the citizens are being held as hostages by ISIS. That doesn't get reported here like that. Why? Why are we not getting reports that citizens are being treated in such a fashion that they can't leave?
I honestly don't know. But it is important, and it does change the dynamic, and it highlights just how, I'm not going to need any more examples, but it highlights just how awful and evil ISIS is.
So this is worse than the terrorist group in Africa stealing 300 girls. They literally locked down an entire city. That is simply amazing. And what happens if Iraqi forces do finally repel after 2 years the ISIS army? Where does the ISIS army go?
They'll probably retreat back into Mosul and Syria and the other locations that they control. I think that they might make another push to retake it. I think if Iraq does actually manage to dislodge them, they will find that the city is probably pretty well destroyed, either from the fighting that took place during the Iraq battle, or just in general from ISIS, and probably a real amount of casualties.
Yeah. And you're talking about retreating, and stay with us for a few moments because this is important. You're talking about they're retreating not only to Mosul, heading back then north to Syria at this particular point. Why is that problematic?
Well, I mean, it's all problematic. Essentially, ISIS is operating like a state in and of itself, and is able to control territory and make laws and essentially control its citizens, whether or not they want to be citizens or not. And even though Iraq may make some inroads in Syria, which it appears that they may not even do that, ISIS still controls a tremendous amount of Syria and Iraq. And, just continues to grow and to spread its reach beyond just its locations, but into Europe as well.
So the people of Syria, already rocked by war on all sides, if they see that ISIS falls to Iraq, and knowing that ISIS will escape out of the city before they are destroyed, literally destroyed, and they're coming back to Syria, is that going to make it easy for people who have left Syria for Europe to return?
No, it'll still continue to be bad. I mean, it's going to be, you're not going to be able to come back until ISIS is gone.
Wow. Which goes back to the Greece issue we started out tonight. This is really funky. I can't think of a better term. Literally, there is a serious catch-22 here, and it's all because we didn't take care of ISIS when we should have, right?
Yeah. Either us or the Syrians themselves.
Janis, we love you coming on the air with us, and just a note here. That I haven't seen such disparagement that we've talked about in a number of years, and we've been through a lot of bad things. This is really funky. What should we be looking for next week in your crystal ball?
Well, the Brexit, as it's called, but the referendum on whether they should leave the EU, that is getting close to that, so we're going to look at that. as Venezuela, that could explode, I guess, at any time. And as I was looking at, kind of the news and the pulse of Europe and the refugees.
Venezuela, is that going to become a military junta?
It could.
Wow.
It could. I mean, it's a desperate time, and there's likely to be desperate measures happening.
Certainly. Janis Hall, J. Hall Road, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We love you.
Thank you.
Janis Hall, I tell you, wow. I'm going to tell you all, I haven't heard this bleak kind of talk in months about world policy. Wow. The situation, it does look very bleak. It does look very bleak. Jason Whitler sent me a note saying that Phyllis Schlafly has joined the anti-McCain momentum in Arizona. She is endorsing former Arizona State Senator Dr. Kelly Ward. Dr. Kelly Ward. And they want to know if we can get Dr. Kelly Ward on the program. We'll see. We'll see what we can do. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, I wanted to continue our conversation about why the Democrats are so anti-women, anti-poor, and anti-Christian. I said it, and it has everything to do with your Second Amendment right. We'll be right back with more of the best in urban conservative talk. Yes, you're listening to us live from Washington, D.C. You're listening to us live from Washington, D.C. We are carried on Sackheads Radio, SHR Media. We are carried on High Plains Pundit Media. We are carried on Internet Conservative Radio Network.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm an executive chef of a Trinity restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepared here. So I'm going to make it a fresh Italian salsa. And they cook here and slice it up. Pizza is an in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and green. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. Juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables. Served with jasmine rice and peanut butter. Now, we're going to prepare our favorite black tilapia, which is our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused burger. Chicken spice will cook a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck, hand patty burgers, like half around the burger, with green pepper pepper. After I flip the burger, we grab the sauce and then cook on it until it gets good. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger to spice it up a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, Infused Restaurant is where you want to go. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland. 20748 301 449 Infused.com. Ladies and gentlemen, a message from Winnie the Pier. For the reporter who called me today, you want to stop violent crime? I know of a way to
Nothing illustrates America's breakdown like the way the president's hometown celebrates its holidays. Memorial Day, 12 dead, 56 wounded. The 4th of July, 10 dead, 53 wounded. Labor Day, 9 dead, 46 wounded. This kind of third world carnage has become absolutely normal. If the president held a press conference every time multiple people were murdered by criminal gangbangers with illegal guns in Chicago, we'd hear from him almost every day. Instead, he says nothing. And the untold secret in Washington is that he has all the laws he needs to stop the bloodshed now. Under the existing federal gun laws, he could take every felon with a gun, drug dealer with a gun, and criminal gangbanger with a gun off the streets tomorrow and lock them up for 5 years or more. But he won't do it. His Justice Department won't do it. And the media never ask why. So convicted gangbangers carry illegal guns because they fear rival gangs more than they fear being prosecuted for a gun charge. Every police officer on the streets in cities like Chicago, Baltimore, and Detroit knows what it's like to get called to a murder scene, knowing full well who did it, because the killer was in the back of their car yesterday or last week. Thugs like Darius Brown, who was supposed to be serving a 10-year sentence for second-degree felony robbery, but got let off with 5 years probation. So he was free to roam the streets and kill a 9-year-old girl while she was doing her homework. If you want to stop violent crime, and I know you do, take violent criminals off the street. Prosecute them under the current federal gun laws and make sure they don't get to their next crime scene. That's the way to save lives. If the president held a press conference tomorrow morning and directed every federal jurisdiction to round up every felon with a gun, drug dealer with a gun, and criminal gangbanger with a gun, law enforcement would have thousands of violent thugs in handcuffs and squad cars by sundown. Instead, he waits for a crime that fits his agenda and blames the NRA. Mr. President, we will not accept blame for your failure. The NRA has demanded the strongest possible prosecution of the federal gun laws for over 20 years. Our repeated calls have been met by deafening silence from the Washington elites. President Obama and Hillary Clinton and other politicians use the carnage to campaign for more gun laws they won't and don't enforce. And the good, honest Americans living out in farm towns in Nebraska or Oklahoma, or working 2 jobs in inner city Chicago or Baltimore, people who keep their heads down, raise their kids, and just try to do the right thing, they see through it all. We've lived through the Clinton administration's utter lack of federal gun prosecutions, and the Obama administration is following suit while the country suffers. And we know the second Clinton administration will just mean more of the same. Americans have no tolerance for violent thugs, no tolerance for the politicians who enable them, and no tolerance for a media that devotes endless time to new gun laws, but won't even ask why we don't enforce the existing federal gun laws we already have. No organization has been louder, clearer, or more consistent on the urgent need to enforce the federal gun laws than the NRA. And in the face of mounting political and media pressure to demean, shame, and silence us, we will fight. If you have had enough of the dishonest debate, If you're sick and tired of politicians blaming you and your guns for their failure, demand truth and justice. Stand and fight with the NRA.
I've seen a lot of places, I've been around the world. I've seen some pretty places, been with some beautiful girls. And you know I witnessed one thing still amazes me. Just like a miracle, you have to see to believe. Yes, Texas, is on hand, rock, and angels from the promised land. We gave all the place, where they could dance. If you wanna see heaven, mother, here's your chance. I've been sent to spread the message. God bless Texas. Feeling the sunshine, living in the water's deep. And he gave us moonlight for all the world to see. Well, everybody knows that the Lord works in mysterious ways. He took a rest, and on the very next day. God bless Texas, his own hand, all the angels from the promised land. Gave on my place, where they could dance. If you wanna see heaven, mother, it's your chance. I've been sent to spread the message.
God bless Texas.
Texas, with his own hand, all the angels from the promised land. Gave on the place where they could dance. If you wanna see heaven, mother, here's your chance. I've been sent to spread the message. God bless Texas. I've been sent to spread the message. God bless Texas. I've been sent to spread the message. God bless Texas.
All right now. God did bless Texas. I did indeed. I said it did. You know, a police state is a totalitarian state controlled by a political force that secretly supervises the citizens' activities. Now, a lot of people would say, well, that's a lot of mumbo jumbo there, Ken, and there's no way you can prove that Washington, D.C. is a police state. Well, let's just break this down. One-party rule. That's called totalitarianism. State control. You've taken away the Republican form of governance to the point where only 13 people plus a mayor actually run the joint. I know you're going to say, well, we have ANCs, but ANCs have no real influence. Although, according to the law, a budget is not supposed to pass unless it has been approved by the ANCs. Yet every single budget since 1976 has been approved without the approval of the ANC. So you really don't have an ANC influence. You really have a junta, a legal junta, a group of individuals who claim power over various geographies within the District of Columbia. And there is a number of police forces within the District of Columbia, but you can't protect yourself according to the law. So literally, your activities are supervised. Literally, there are some places you can go in the city, and certain places that you are rumored you shouldn't go. Howard University has an orientation of its new students, and part of its orientation is to tell the parents of the new students where their children should go and where they should not go, how far away from the campus they should walk, how far away they should stay. Wow. That doesn't sound like freedom. In fact, it sounds like the citizens are uniquely grouped in certain areas, and thus are virtually stuck. Stuck, I say. I want you to understand something. The Democrat Party, from the very beginning, has hated the idea of you being free. And I know a lot of people will say, well, Ken, you're just cooking this because you are a conservative. That's just the way you people are. You're just mean-spirited. You hate us because we're in power. And we got Obamacare through. And I want you all to know something. That's not the case at all. Not the case at all. I want to point to you the Democrat Party platform of 1840. And I want, for those who will follow along in our chat roll, I want you to understand just how severe the Democrats are about inducing a countrywide police state. People get offended when we call them fascists, when we call them anti-Semitic. But literally the platform from 1840 resoundingly states that Congress has no power under the Constitution. And we know that this is not the case. This is not true. In fact, if you study the Constitution by 1840, slavery was supposed to end. So the Democrats picked it up from here, and they stated in 1840 when, according to the Constitution, slavery was supposed to end. The seventh point was resolved that Congress has no power under the Constitution to interfere with or control the domestic institutions of the several states, and that such states are the sole and proper judges of everything appertaining to their own affairs, not prohibited by the Constitution, that all efforts by abolitionists or others made to induce Congress to interfere with questions of slavery or to take incipient steps in relation thereto are calculated to lead to the most alarming and dangerous consequences. Yes, from 1840, the Democrat Party had threatened our country, not because they were constitutionally right, but because they were constitutionally willing to change. They were willing to change the Constitution to enslave people. It is no different today when we take a look back at the Democrat platform over the years and how it has worked litigiously and insipidly to eliminate concealed carry, to eliminate your right to defend, to eliminate stand your ground, to eliminate any hopes that you have a chance, a fair chance, Well, there was a Gun Control Act of 1968. It was passed in response to the assassination of John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King. Yeah, see, Democrats jumped to this opportunity. The bill altered federal law to help broadly regulate the firearm industry. It made guns by mail illegal. Apparently, Lee Harvey Oswald got his gun through the mail. And strictly enforced the transfer of firearms across state lines. Did that stop assassination attempts? No, it really didn't. But what it did was it caused a lot of people harm, and that they were unable to ascertain their firearms. So another means, another measure, capitalists as we are, we adjust. And then the Brady Bill of 1993. It instituted mandatory federal background checks on all firearm purchases in the United States. It prohibited the transfer or sale of weapons to individuals who were mentally unstable. Here we go. Your state now determines if you are stable or not. Addicted to drugs, a fugitive, has been discharged from the U.S. Army, illegal aliens, court-ordered, convicted of domestic violence, or any person who has been convicted of a criminal crime. The Brady Bill has blocked the sale of over 2 million firearms since 1994. That's what they like to tell you. But that doesn't stop these guys from getting those particular guns. Then there's the federal assault weapons ban, which was part of the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994. This provision, instituted by Democrats, prohibits the sale of assault rifles and certain semi-automatic machine guns to citizens of the United States. The National Firearms Act of 1934, passed by Franklin Delano Roosevelt in response to growing concern over the infiltration of fully automatic weapons on society. During the Prohibition era, powerful automatic weapons often wound up in the hands of the mafia and criminals. Has that stopped? No. Democrats commonly correlate gun use and the acquisition of firearms with homicide and other violent crimes. The liberal interpretation of the Second Amendment is not a direct right for individuals to own and use guns. In general, Democrats do not have a tolerant stance towards guns, but instead a common sense interpretation. This simply means that long guns or guns used for sport are permissible for societal use, while violent guns, such as handguns or semi-automatic weapons, should be strictly regulated. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring together my point 7 of the 1840 Democrat platform in the modern day movement against guns is really virtually the same thing. In 1865, there were racist gun laws. Now, I want you all to understand something before I move on. That there are liberal states in the District of Columbia that are very exclusive regarding guns. And you will find that in each of these states there is a large Democrat vote. California, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. Now I want you to think, who runs the next set of states? Alabama, Alaska, Georgia, Idaho, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, in Texas? Well, you probably got that answer correct. Conservatives. Where do we find most of the violent crime? You will probably find it in the major cities in the most liberal states. We talk about the black market for butter. They uniquely have created a black market by legislation and actually have put the lives of their citizenry, those who are ill at ease with doing crime, innocent people, at risk. 1865 is where I stopped. 1865 is where I returned. In 1865, a group of black codes were created, and these codes were created across the country. Some people will say the southern states, but that's not the case. It's across the country. They were due to create barriers to black people owning guns. One of the great writers regarding this is Clayton E. Kramer, The Racist Roots of Gun Control. And he writes, one example of the increasing fear of armed blacks is an 1834 change to the Tennessee Constitution, where Article 11:26 of the 1796 Tennessee Constitution was revised from that free men of this state have a right to keep and to bear arms for their common defense, to that the free white men of this state have a right to keep and to bear arms for their common defense. It is not clear what motivated this change other than Turner's bloody insurrection. The year before, the Tennessee Supreme Court had recognized the right to bear arms as an individual guarantee, but there is nothing in that decision that touches on the subject of race. Ken, do you mean that since the very beginning of this country, inclusive of Nat Turner's rebellion, that liberals, Democrats, progressives, socialists, Marxists, race-hating, race-baiting individuals have hated the freedom to defend oneself? I say to you, yes. Many people don't understand that it wasn't the civil rights movement of 1964 that saved the South. It was the NRA in 1876 and the missionaries of the NRA who brought weapons and ammunition to the South to teach black people how to defend themselves. And seeing this during the Reconstruction period, there were many Democrats who were fearful if they have the right to vote and the right to shoot, then they will rule over us. There were some people who didn't want that. The North Carolina Constitution declared that the people have a right to bear arms for the defense of the state, and that standing armies in time of peace are dangerous to liberty. They ought not to be kept up, and that the military should be kept under strict subordination to and governed by the civil power. That's the 17th article of the 1776 North Carolina Constitution. Now the courts, the North Carolina Supreme Court, said that we cannot see the Act of 1840 is in conflict with it. The defendant is not indicted for carrying arms in defense of the state, nor does the Act of 1840 prohibit him from doing so. But in Huntley, the court had acknowledged that the restrictive language for the defense of the state did not preclude an individual right. The court then attempted to justify the necessity of this law. Its only object is to preserve the peace and safety of the community from being disturbed by indiscriminate use on ordinary occasions by free men of color or of firearms or other arms of an offensive character. Self-preservation is the first law of nations as it is of individuals. There has always been a fight against men who sought to protect themselves and women who sought to protect themselves. I didn't get a chance to read my essay, but I just want to read this part of it. Imagine if every person that suffered domestic violence were given a firearm, ammunition, and firearms training. Not by government intervention, but by private foundation. Imagine how much safer the world would be. Imagine how much safer she would be in her home, her neighborhood, her place of work, and her place of worship. Imagine how much safer her children would be, and how much anxiety would be removed from the home environments. We need to self-defend, baby, because we cannot police our way out of this. A friend of mine once told me to always be brave. I promise you I always will. I want to let you all know that God has blessed America. It's time now for America to bless God. We'll be back tomorrow night, and I will continue speaking on the Second Amendment. And my goal, I'm just going to let y'all know this, my goal is to organize as many women as possible to demand their right to protect themselves in Washington, D.C. Stay with me. I'm crazy enough to make it happen. God bless you. God bless the USA.